So this is a very brief and short, try to be short explanation of ISIS, the Islamic State, and what's happening there, what are they, etc., etc. The history, in 1999, they have been established, swore allegiance to Al-Qaeda in 2004, joined the war against the United States in Iraq 2006, 2010, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the leader, is being sworn the leader. Then he later sends delegates to Syria in the bloody civil war. This group is called Jabhat al-Nusra. A little bit later, he declares Jabhat al-Nusra and Al-Qaeda part of his Islamic State. He forms the Islamic State, declares himself as the authority of all Muslims all around the world. Jabhat al-Nusra and Al-Qaeda both deny this alliance. They say we are not part of the Islamic State, and well, he's left alone, not in the dark. I can't say he's really sorry for that. You can see other notorious events of them. But what is ISIS? Well, ISIS claims to be the successors and the successors of Muhammad. They claim to be the ones who actually understand his message and carries his message to the world. Muhammad was not only the prophet who got the complete word of Allah, the complete truth from God, but he was also a general, the first to establish the Muslim empire. Please read this quote. I think very interesting one, will give you an insight to their claims, to their beliefs, and to their well, I don't know how to say it other than contradictory use of language. I'm gonna read the first line to you. Praise be to Allah, the mighty and strong, and may peace and blessings be upon the one sent with the sword as a mercy to all creation. So they are using the most raped word of every language, which is peace. They use it to say, have peace, the ones with the sword that gonna bring mercy with the sword by war. Very confusing. Read it, judge for yourself. They are not just a terrorist group. They are much more than terrorist group. As I told you, they see themselves as the continuum of Muhammad. They see themselves as a political entity, theocratic entity. They see themselves as a political solution and a theocratic solution. They want the Khalif, the head of the Caliphate. Caliphate is the empire. It's a theocratic empire. It's a political organization and also a religious one. The head of the state, the emperor, which is called Khalif in this Caliphate, is also the religious priest, the high-ranking religious authority, and the high-ranking political authority. Of course, the law is the law of the Sharia, the Islamic religious law, and all other authorities are, of course, null against it. Another quote from ISIS, from one of them official releases, is this: the legality of all emirates, groups, states, organizations becomes null by the expansion of the Caliphate's authority and the arrival of its troops to their areas. This is the historical map of the Islamic Caliphate. In dark red, this is the age of Muhammad. In light red, this is the spread after Muhammad's death. And in orange, this is the largest borders of the historical Islamic Caliphate. Of course, they want more than that. First step, let's take this. Later, let's take everything else. They have a philosophy behind their moves. They're not just crazy people. They are not crazy. They are maybe extremists, but they are not crazy. Their philosophy is based on the belief on the Quran and a very specific interpretation of it. Interpretation which drives from eschatology. Eschatology is the belief that the end is near. The judgment day, it will come very, very soon, and in this judgment day, we will be judged. And we need to prepare the world for the end of days. The end of the days, according to their belief, will happen for more or less 4 generations from now. After al-Baghdadi, only 4 caliphs will rule the caliphates, and then will come the last ruler of humankind, which will prepare us for the judgment day. Their goal is to defeat the evil army of Rome and to make sure that all humanity is ready for the coming of the doomsday. Sounds a little bit wacko, but well, they are not wacko. They do have political control. They just now started the first class of the medical school in 2 cities have started training doctors. They're gonna participate in 3 years program. After that, they will become doctors. They are in control. They are in political control, they are in economical control, they are in social control, legal control, religious control, for sure. They have 8 million residents in their control. And they do take care of every aspect of life which these citizens need. Good, bad, I don't know. They are in control. They are not a terrorist group. Terrorists want to create fear, only fear. They don't have an alternative. This is a different kind of enemy. This is a different kind of a group. They do want political control, and they do achieve it in their territories. They have a lot of economical resources. These are 4 of the main sources of funding for the Islamic State. They use extortion and criminal networks. We're going to talk about one of them, these criminal networks, a little bit later. Hostage. They are negotiating with governments, families, doing social media. We're going to talk a little bit about it a little bit later. Oil. Most of the money comes from there. Donations. They are recruiting, again, from social media. Donations, support, physical support, and of course, they are recruiting men and women through the social media, and they get a lot of donations through there. They also have slave trade. They are interpreting a verse in Islam which says that a man can marry as a loot of war everything that your right hand can possess. Some say it's for women, and they say, well, everything that you can take by power. They see this as an excuse or as something that gives legitimacy to slave trade. They marry the women and children that they capture, marry them, have sex with them, divorce them, pass them on, somebody else buy them. Very prosperous trade that they have formed. Yeah, well. They are also trading antiques. They allow looting of historical artifacts and historical territories which they are in control of. I remind you, they are in control of some of the first civilizations of the world in Mesopotamia and other parts of the Fertile Crescent. They take 20% of the profit for it. They also break into pieces temples and other artifacts, and they sell them piece by piece. It is worth tons of money even in small pieces. Oil, as said before, is maybe the largest source of income. We're talking about large numbers. They're also a very, very sophisticated military group. They use very sophisticated military tactics. They use terrorist tactics like bombs, like suicide bombs, like truck bombs, car bombs, blah, blah, other kinds of bombs to create chaos in the rivals' ranks and strongholds. Like regular armies use artillery, they use suicide bombs, etc. And then after the rivals are in chaos and miscommunicated, misoriented, they send the big troops with the big guns in the cars and in foot. They're also very, very well coordinated. They are capable and have proved able to coordinate a large number of attacks in different areas to make it even harder for the other army, the other side, to defend against them. They use social media as a weapon and as an economical tool, as a way to spread their beliefs. They are negotiating with government through it, with families through it. They are getting resources, soldiers. They use the social media, well, brilliantly, I have to say. Not only as an economical and political source, they also use it as a war of weapon. They use it as a terrorist platform per se. They are using it to send fear to the enemy. The enemy is everyone who is not Salafi Sunni as they are. What can be done? The United States is trying to lead a coalition against them. They thought that they will come with the big airplanes and with the big bombs and the ISIS will just run away. Didn't really happen. One reason is that coalition is not very well organized, very contradictory interests about it. The United States is part of the problem. They helped starting this problem when they invaded Iraq for the first time, and the second time. Very problematic issue. So when you are part of the problem, it's very hard to be a part of the solution. They are reluctant to send the big guns, the troops on the ground, the tanks, and so on and so forth. They want to have another mess like in Iraq, both times, and in Afghanistan. So it doesn't really work. Iran is trying to lead their own campaign, their own coalition. They are trying to recruit Kurdi militia in Iraq and the Iraqi army to try to lead them. It doesn't really work, partly because Iranians are Shia, and the armies that they are trying to lead, they are Sunni, they are for many years fierce rivals. Doesn't really work very well. Another possible solution is to increase global awareness, to block the economical support. Well, if you don't have money, it's pretty hard to fight. To block the political support, like they're getting from Turkey, which lets terrorists, jihadists to cross the border into Syria, into Iraq, and they don't let refugees to cross the border to it. Another thing is to bring the focus back to where it belongs. This is an inner Islamic issue. The extreme interpretation of ISIS to the Quran, which gives them legitimacy or so-called legitimacy to what they are doing, can be countered by a more moderate interpretations of the Quran if we only give voice to these moderate interpretations of the Quran, which are plenty of. But we as a culture, we like the blood, and we listen to the violent. We just need to make sure that we know that this is not a cultural war. This is not war between religions, because ISIS is not a representative nor of Muslims nor of Arabs. There are the majority of Muslims and Arabs are not part of ISIS, don't believe in them, and they are basically considered as the enemies of ISIS. I have nothing to add to this. I think it speaks for itself. What we can do is to show that Westerners are not the real devil by doing what Angela Merkel is doing, opening the gates of Europe to help refugees, to show compassion, to show that Westerners, that Europeans, that we are not the devil, that we want to help. We are showing the hypocrisy of the claims of ISIS and other supporters of ISIS, Muslims themselves, that close the borders, finance the war, and then leave the taking care of refugees, of the casualties, to everyone else. This is the bibliography. Feel free, or please follow the links, learn for yourself. Thank you very much for Mara to bringing this topic to our attention.